All right, let's talk about different possibilities for the S&P for those that are using it to help trade their crypto and using it as a way to kind of gauge direction of things as Bitcoin and Ethereum and the major cryptos are all following each other and they're all following the major markets. We've got some possibilities here that we can discuss. The first of which you could say, if we continue to get any more bad news or even just no more pump for the rest of today, I would expect us to come down and test this to see if we now have support here, because this morning when the sell-off happened, we created a new low on the entire S&P, and then I was afraid that this old support might become resistance and things were going to get really gloomy. But we immediately broke back up through that. We filled this gap over here, which was my next concern. Were we going to just barely fill this gap, then pull back, or get rejected right at the top of this where we were? We've went a bit past that, which could also, have something to do with maybe there was a brief short squeeze in there or something like that. Maybe the bears got wrecked briefly. Those are all possibilities. But if we wanted to look at the optimistic side to this, you could say that we immediately went back up and that we're going to hopefully now turn this into support, start staying above this like 36.25 kind of range, 36.30, and start trying to create a higher high and create a base above this. If we were to possibly start to get some relaxed news as Fed meetings and Fed reports come out the starting tomorrow, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if we're to start to get something like that, then you could get a continuation of this up into these ranges, maybe a brief rejection, come back up and break through. And over here on the left is a gap fill that I had been watching for and seeing, when we're going to fill this. That's kind of something I'm watching. So if this week turns into decent news, coming into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, especially if you get consecutive days of news, you could end up blowing right through these lines of resistance and coming up here for a gap fill, maybe even ending up here for a minute. But in the grander scheme of things, we are still in a down market. We are still going to continue to have downwards pressures. And overall, there's a good chance that we still make lower lows than this 35.60, 35.70 range that we're in right now. And, that would come basically right after a relief rally like this. You would go ahead and since, the sell pressure, becomes weak and so exhausted, then it's easier for the bulls to take control. The bears, take a back seat for a moment. And you get this to come through these ranges or maybe range in here. But like I said, depending on if you can get consecutive days, you could break through all of these, get up here, get people talking crazy again. And who knows, maybe even start to, get something that stays up here for a moment going forward. Do not count out the fact that the pressures are going to continue to come. Do not count out the fact that there is more bad news to come. We still have, we still have a war, we still have inflation, we still have a lot of things happening. Do not get too comfortable in these ranges. Aggressively take your profits if you end up in any of these boxes from this green line and above. Also, if you're in a point to where you have profits and you're back in the green, by the time you start to hit this green line, I think the safest thing to do is to start reducing your exposure, taking some of your profits and preserving some capital so that you can make moves on these moves down. So if you come up into here, we get rejected and bounce and then come back down here, it's going to happen so fast that you see your portfolio slightly in the green versus going back to being more red than prior. And if we get deep down into these ranges, and you come down to these 3,400 ranges, I would be highly likely, if you didn't end up turning these into, no, I'm sorry. It would be highly likely if I would be surprised. Man, crazy. So, I think most people edit out when they make mistakes like that. But like I said, I try to get you guys videos as soon as I can and in real time. So there's no time for me to, have my own people edit them or send them out to Fiverr and make them look pretty and then, cut out the mistakes. So I give it to you guys raw. We don't have any cool thumbnails, and the way the programs work, they seem to constantly be making me have a thumbnail with a dumb face. So anyways, back to what's important. Let's get you guys some, some education and something to count on. I would expect this to become resistance. It's support now. It'll turn into resistance once we're below here. As I've stated in prior videos, there's really no support. Boy, I'm just making a mess of that now. So just trying to drag the chart and it wouldn't let me. So anyways, there's really no support until down here in these bigger ranges from past, and until you get down to 3,000 to 3,200 or the 32 to 34 ranges in this area, there's really no support going back to pre-pandemic. So all of this is just kind of up in the air. I mean, it's a matter of, is it going to work or is it not going to work kind of a situation. And if we don't find support in these ranges, as I've said in the past, it's a pretty far trip down until you do get support. And you need to be trading with an open mind to those scenarios. And that way, if you get those crazy pullbacks, you don't get, scared, freak out, and then decide to sell at what will be, the worst time to sell ever. And you're basically just selling your losses right back into, the top traders or the top institutions. And, once again, you're making it easy for them to live off of you. And the idea is for you to flip that scenario, pay more attention to these lines, pay attention, to the stress, pay attention to the fear, the FUD, and, where these lines are at. I mean, all of them come into play at one point or another. As of right now, we filled this gap. We're back up in these ranges, but it doesn't mean we're going to hold them. Like I said, we've got bad news that we could get tomorrow, or it could be good news. We have important meetings. Let's say that we have important meetings coming out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from the Fed, and we'll see how all this plays out. I'll continue watching the markets and try to get you guys some updates and some videos today if I can. If you have any requests or you have any, specific questions, hit me in the comments. I'll try to make specific videos to help anybody out that I can and get your guys' questions answered. But in the near term, let's hopefully, if and when we come back down, find that we actually have support that matches this first line to back to here, and that we're not going to just come immediately down, show no respect to this line, and end up right back down here. If that does happen, I would expect some sort of bounce again from it, although they could start to get smaller. What I would watch for if you do come back down to this second line and bounce up is, does this line become resistance, or what was the bottoms right in this area for all these candles going for the last few days? And, back to here, you kind of had a bottom in here. You were creating support right around the 3,600, 3,615 range. Is the 3,600, 3,615 range going to become resistance or support? That's what I'd be watching going forward. I will work on cleaning these charts up later, removing some of this old stuff. Sometimes I like to keep it in case I need to go back and, reference or say, hey, look, I really did say this, but we'll start cleaning this stuff up. Anyways, you guys remember, we're in a bear market. We're still in a downtrend. When you get a rip like this, if you manage to, DCA into the bottom and pick it, take profits aggressively on your rips, because we're, sure to get more dips at this point. And overall, we're in a downward market. We're in a bear market. We're in a downward trend. Things overall in the bigger picture are trending down as a whole. So, unless you're investing and buying now for a much later basis, do not get too carried away right now. There's a good chance you'll still have lower prices to buy and more opportunities to come to make that killing. Capital preservation is most important in these bear markets, so don't get too carried away and be careful with your leverage if you're